With the evolution of YouTube in the recent years, it is no longer a surprise to find unusual animation channels. While surfing, I found a peculiar case, and in this video, we are going to take a look. Hey guys, welcome to my first video, in which case you can see I'm not an English speaker, so forgive my accent. On this first episode, we are going to take a look into a mysterious, but at the same time uncomfortable channel. It is not the first time that we come across one of these, so without further ado, let's get started. The channel that I'm going to analyze today, it's called I Can't Sleep. We can see that it will be one of those mystery animations with a second meaning. The most interesting thing is that all the videos on this YouTube channel are less than 1 minute long. But first, let's go to the playlists, because all mystery channels have them organized in playlists. And I was right. We can see all the playlists with unusual names, namely Childhood, Nightmares, Don't Get Your Hopes Up, Insanity, Way Back Home. In this video, we will not see the creepypastas and on your phone, so let's move on to the childhood. Which, upon entering it, the first one is called Underwater. It shows us the main protagonist sitting with her feet in the lake. When she sees a person dressed in black going under the water, she quickly removes her feet from it. The only thing that I can take away from this video is the fear of what can be underwater, and it makes more sense to put this type of thought and feeling in a child. The following video is called Childhood, and this one I can relate to. It shows us the protagonist standing in the corner of a room, and when she closes her eyes, a monster appears in front of her in milliseconds. This fear was more common when I was taking a shower. And the last video is called Shadows in My Room, and it's very simple. When the protagonists turn on the light in their room, we can notice that the shadows gain a kind of eyes, as if they were staring at her. I think this can be related to the fear of one's own shadow. This playlist represents some of common fears in children. With this playlist aside, we will move on to the nightmares. When we open it, we are faced with the first video called They Are Coming. It shows us several eyes following a dark figure along his path, which when it passes through 3 frames, we can see the middle one has hair similar to the protagonist. And when the figure enters the elevator, several souls appear to suffer while the supposed figure would be standing there. I can get some things out of here, but what I would find more credible is this being the kind of expectation of what would be like. The next video is called He Is Here, in which the protagonist appears and after milliseconds ends up dying, while we see the figure going down the elevator, and the protagonist who will now be on the top of the roof, where at the end the figure appears on the edge of the old posts that will be now crosses. I'm confident to say that the supposed figure is Death himself. Since he went to hell, he came back and he modifies the objects around him according to his presence. After this, we move to the surprise, which is summarized in a few sentences. In it appears the death that gives as a gift to the protagonist. When opening the same, she simply loses her life. With that one aside, we set off for the bathroom. It shows us the protagonist trying to enter the bathroom, which after some are closed, she enters one. But she noticed that death hunts her wherever she goes. I don't know why, but from here, I think the protagonist has fascination with death, or at least thinks about it a lot. The video called Heaven doesn't show us anything, because it simply shows us the calm protagonist while the supposed sun changes. Then we will move on to the Leave Me Alone. It shows us the protagonist who suffered mentally for several days, where the sun doesn't leave her alone, so she tries to commit, but luckily she doesn't have the courage. The following is called Morning, in which the protagonist will be in the bathroom looking at the mirror, which by her appearance, I assume she has not slept for days, and seconds later we can see someone at her door. This one might have a strong connection with the fear of seeing things in the mirror. Who has never came across one of those videos in YouTube? The 8th video in this playlist is called Shower, and of course it shows us the protagonist taking a shower, but when she hears something, she looks and then continues. The subway shows us the protagonist sitting down, who moments later the figure sits next to her, making her get off at the next stop. Coincidentally, after leaving, she dies. I got to the point where I'm not going to analyze this playlist anymore, because they are just different scenarios in which she ends up losing her life, one being more bizarre than the other. In this playlist shows that Death is chasing the main character several times during her dreams, which as they always end up with her death, they end up being nightmares. What further reinforces my theory is the fact that it appears saying his nightmare is just beginning in a setting that was supposed to be peaceful. Let's go to the next playlist, which is called Don't Get Your Hopes Up. It really starts from the second episode, in which it shows us the protagonist showing that in the dream she dies in various ways and learns along with the mistakes made in the past, which one of them says the following: "There is no resurrection without crucifixion." It makes me think that the protagonist is dead and trapped in the nightmare forever, and that's why that line appears, saying that the protagonist will never return, until after losing her life 3 times, a cross appears. This next playlist is connected to this one, as the first video is called "I Woke Up in a Strange Place." As stated in it, she wakes up in a strange room while she was trapped in bed. Later on, we managed to draw the conclusion that she and a few other people were being used as Guyana pigs. As they departed, cells appeared with souls inside them. As we see more, these get even weirder and weirder, not in a bad way, but in a good way. The last playlist is called Way Back Home, which proves that the protagonist was trapped in a kind of psychiatric hospital because she suffered from some mental disorder, which could be schizophrenia, justifying the fact that she sees and hears strange things. And when she is discharged, she finally walks towards her house. When she arrives in the city, her clothes change so that a strange jacket appears while she was accompanied by a guard. But it was all psychological, and it all ends. Fucking trip, I won't say no, but let's sum it all up. Throughout this playlist that can be memories, we were able to accompany the main protagonist as she grew up. In these memories, we were able to realize that she suffered from a psychological disorder, possibly being schizophrenia. And she grows, the disorder will only get worse and worse, taking away her health, starting with the sleep, which would affect her mental health, to the point that she ends up in the psychiatric hospital, which it is represented as a prison.